Hi, continue with today's thought. One of the small pleasures in life, or at least my life, I guess that'll give you an idea how exciting my life is, but one of the small pleasures in my life is saying the government ought to do this, that, or the other thing, or Congress ought to do this, that, or the other thing, and then having them actually do it. In other words, kind of predicting the future, or it's almost as if you sent them the idea and they listened to your idea and did it. This is going to be one of those times. I'm really, you can see I'm smiling here. I don't know if I mentioned this in an earlier thought, so if I didn't, you're going to have to take my word for this, that I thought of this quite a while ago. This is, I know I've mentioned in the past, the way that Joe Biden and the Democrats in general have turned against Israel. When October 7th, this horrible massacre happened, Democrats or we'll say Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, the politicians. So because I don't want to characterize Democrats in general, because the last two polls that I'm aware of show that 80% approval in support of Israel, what they're doing to eliminate Hamas. So if you're talking 80%, you're talking about a substantial number of Democrats. So if it sounded like I was accusing Democrats, I was not. All right. Most Democrats, I believe, like most of everybody else, understands that Israel cannot live next to a terrorist organization. And I said that, because I guess the last straw for me was Chuck Schumer when he went on to the Senate floor and called for new elections in Israel. Number one, blaming Netanyahu for, I don't know, it's almost like these elite Democrats, the politicians, they'll never forgive Israel for October 7th. That's what it sounds like. And the call for a permanent ceasefire, and right after, in the aftermath of this massacre, calling for a Palestinian state. In other words, reward the Arabs for October 7th. So I guess that really got me going. I thought that, and not just me, they've been getting criticism from all over, and we all, as I've said in the past, everybody should know what this is all about, which is that, as I said in the beginning, the support among even top Democrats for Israel was unequivocal and was solid. Now, what happened was that there's one of the swing states that Biden needs or believes he needs to win the election in November is Michigan. Michigan has a large Arab community in Dearborn Heights and Hamtramck. I'm from Michigan, so I'm familiar. It's interesting. Hamtramck used to be, it was Polish Catholic. I used to go there for pierogies with my buddies. They had great pierogies there, and so it's amazing how it's changed from almost completely Catholic Polish to Arab Muslim, and the same thing in Dearborn Heights. Now in Dearborn and Minnesota too, there is a large Arab community, and in some of these communities, maybe all of them, definitely Dearborn Heights, they're urging Muslims not to vote for Joe Biden, not necessarily vote for Trump, but maybe sit out the election. But anyways, it put the fear of God or fear of Allah, maybe in this case, in the Democrats, and suddenly they're changing their tune, and it's very obvious it is just to win to carry Michigan. And that would be a good question for a reporter to ask Joe Biden, if he ever holds a press conference, how many Israelis have to die for you to win Michigan, for you to carry Michigan. That's what it's all about. So I said, now we're getting to what I thought to myself, that you remember that that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and by the way, they're blaming Netanyahu, even though the Israeli people are overwhelmingly behind them. Schumer either doesn't know or refuses to acknowledge the fact, because you can't, even among Democrats that support Israel, you still get some mileage out of accusing or condemning Netanyahu, because a lot of liberal Jews, which is the kind of Jews you would find in the Democratic Party — I'm not one of them, I'm a conservative — they would, I'm Jewish, they would, it would allow them to not feel guilty about supporting Democrats if they blame Netanyahu, because Netanyahu is a man of the right, and they would give him a free pass, or at least assuage their consciences a little bit. So, getting to what I said, that remembering that Netanyahu in 2015, the run-up to Iraq, it was the JCPOA opposing the nuke deal with Iran that Joe Biden, that Barack Obama was hell-bent on making with Iran. And now Joe Biden also, I mentioned, I said his name a moment ago, but he has the same view. But Netanyahu was invited to give an address to address a joint session of Congress, the House and the Senate, and he did, and that caused a bit of a problem for Democrats. And I said, well, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House now, should do the same thing, should invite Benjamin Netanyahu to address Congress. That it would, number one, it would show that overwhelming support for Israel, but number two, imagine the optics, and that's why my suggestion would be, now he didn't name a date, but do it not now, but a bit closer to the election. I would say August, or maybe even September, or maybe even October, because what you're going to see, you're going to have Netanyahu speaking to Congress, you're going to have standing ovations, definitely overwhelming applause, from probably unanimous applause and standing ovations from the Republican side. But what are you going to see on the Democratic side? And you'll see a lot of applause there, maybe too, but you're going to see a lot of just sitting on their hands. The squad, the anti-Semitic squad, will sit on their hands, I believe, and that will be a very bad optic for the Democrats right before the election. Here's the headline. This is what I meant. I meant to show this earlier, but here it is right now. Speaker Mike Johnson considering inviting Netanyahu to address Congress. And I'll give you a couple quotes from here, well, 3 to be exact. House Speaker Mike Johnson is considering inviting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address Congress after House members raised the idea in their closed-door conference meeting Wednesday morning. It's one of the things that we have in mind, and we may try to arrange for that. Okay, so just to be fair, may do, so maybe it won't happen, but it's such a golden opportunity. I would think that they would. It's stupid not to pass it up. As Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste. And this time the crisis is in the Democratic Party. So, Speaker Johnson, don't let it go to waste. Anyways, back to the quote. It's one of the things that we have in mind, and we may try to arrange for that, Johnson told reporters when asked about inviting Netanyahu to address Congress. I think it's very important for us to show solidarity and support for Israel right now in their time of great struggle. And we certainly stand for that position, and we'll try to advance that in every way that we can. We, of course, meaning Republicans, not necessarily the squad, the Democratic squad. Anyways, this is another good part coming up here. So kind of a twofer for the Democrats. This last quote: an invitation to address a joint session of Congress would require buy-in from whom? From Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who sharply criticized Netanyahu in a floor speech last week when he also called for Israel to hold new elections. So that's another thing. Is Schumer going to talk about bad optics? How is that going to look if the Speaker of the House invites Netanyahu to address a joint session of Congress, and the Democratic majority leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, who made this speech calling for refuses? Plus, Schumer is Jewish, too, don't forget that. And that's going to be a very bad optic. And if he does refuse, that doesn't prevent Speaker Johnson from inviting Netanyahu to address just the House. And how's that going to look for Democrats, especially if this happens close to an election, just as people are going to be, we have this early voting, so you want to be in time for early voting, but you don't want to do it so late that people will forget about it or won't be an issue as we go into the election. So that's it. I'm feeling, as the British say, a bit chuffed, which means good, proud of myself, something like that, that I had this idea actually some time ago. And it's one of these things, if Congress is smart, they would do this, but you don't necessarily expect them to do it. And in the case of Republicans, who are known far and wide as a stupid party, that it would be a real surprise if they did it, but it looks like they're going to do it. I don't know why they wouldn't. I don't know who would stop them. And it's such a golden opportunity, number one, to show support for Israel, and number two, to possibly really troll the heck out of the Democrats. And it'll be interesting I'll just end on this, on the Sunday talk shows, to ask if Schumer refuses, why are you refusing? Or just ask some of the more liberal members of Democrats, will you be attending the session if it happens? So that's it. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. Your comments are always welcome below this video, below my pretty face. And I would love to see all of you again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.